Okay, so we're wrapping up our units in geometry now, okay? We're going to take everything we've learned and start putting it all together. And the best way to do that is to really look at what the basis of geometry and what the basis of this entire course are about. And that's logically proving things. Now, we looked at proofs earlier in the year using those flowcharts, but more often, students tend to do proofs in what's called a two-column proof. And we looked at some of this at the very beginning of our COVID-19 review stuff. So let's really get into this last unit. But to do that, I want to make sure we have a good, I guess, dictionary of theorems. So we want to review all of our geometry theorems. To do this, I'm going to give you a long-term project. Okay, so I don't expect this all to get done in one night. Let's take a look at what you've got. You're going to get this form on your Cami sheet, okay? And it gives you all the different things we have. We have midpoint, second bisect. I've broken this up into different forms so that you're looking at things like segment theorems. And then I've got some theorems about angles. And notice I've given a name of the theorem. Some of these are real names. Some of these are names I kind of just made up. The theorem itself, and then it says example. Your job is to do the example part, okay? So let's look at one together. Midpoint. You're going to create an example of midpoint. If a segment is a midpoint, then it divides a segment into two congruent segments. Over point is midpoint. So to draw an example of that, I would say, okay, let me draw a point. Whoops. Segment. There's a point, A, B, C, and you know what? I'm going to use a different color there. Let me get rid of that little line. I'm going to use a different color to show these congruencies. So this is congruent to that. And now I'm going to say, okay, if B is midpoint of AC, then AB is congruent to BC. So what I've done is a couple things. I drew a picture of what it looks like. That way I can see what's going to happen, okay? And then I took this generalized theorem and I wrote it again, but this time so that it works with this statement, okay? So it works with my picture that I created, okay? It's very important to do this because often students write this in a proof, and that's not what we want. This is usually our statement side of the proof, and then the theorem is over here. The reason is the generalized theorem. So all of these things in theorem are our reasons in proofs, okay? The examples will be our statements. And when we get done with this, we're going to spend a little time doing some two-column proofs, okay? So we're probably going to spend the first week of June or so doing two-column proofs. But this is your job. Look up these examples. If you see a theorem that you don't remember, you don't understand, look it up, okay? Review it. Understand it. Don't just look it up and go, okay, I got it now. You need to draw a picture of it. You need to figure out how to do that. I am going to give you quite a bit of time to do this, okay? This is not going to be due until Monday, okay? That means don't wait till Sunday night to do this. If you notice, there are, according to what this says here, 13 pages. So there's a lot of information here. You don't want to try to sit down and do all of these in one night. You're going to get very angry at me if you do that. Now, you'll also notice I left some open boxes sometimes. As we work on proofs, you may come up with a statement or a theorem that I hadn't thought of yet. Okay, that's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to put this in here so that I remember it for next time or for next year or something like that. Okay, so we have no idea what's going to happen next year. So that's your job. I would do, heck, with 13 pages, if you get 2 pages done a night, a day, okay? So if I get all of these done and all of those done, there we go. I'm now down to 11 pages, okay? It'll take you some time, but it's going to be pretty good for you. A lot of these are pretty straightforward. Here, I'll take another random one. How about the doubles postulate? twice of congruent angles form congruent or twice of congruent angles form congruent angles. So if I have angle, let's call this A, is congruent. I tell you what, let's do it this way. Let's draw. There's no one way to do these pictures. So let's say I draw congruent angles. So I have that angle A and that angle B. Those are congruent angles. I marked them congruent. And if I take 2 times A, well, let's do it this way. Let's say if angle A is congruent to angle B, then 2 times angle A is congruent to 2 times angle B. That's really all that's saying. Okay, so I got 2 angles, and if I double them, then they're going to be congruent. That's really all that's doing. Okay, so you want to write down different ways to do that, see different ways to put that all together. Okay, so there's some examples. You've got a lot of work to do, and like I said, it's not due till Monday, so work a little bit each day. Okay, see you later.